This conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Yes, Shweta ma'am. Screen is loaded. Yeah. Now it's visible. You can maximize your screen.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Shall we start?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Good morning. A very good morning to everybody present here. First of all, I would like to thank all of you to participate here in this FGP. My today's topic is blockchain technology and smart contracts. I would just introducing my, I just tell you the content that I'm going to cover today. Basically, I would be initiating, like, first of all, I would tell you what is blockchain technology, what is it applications, how does the blockchain, in the demo session, we will be learning about how the blockchain technology actually works. And we will be also talking about smart contracts.
All the participants are requested to please mute your mic. Please mute your mic.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yes, Shweta ma'am. You can continue. Please unmute your mic, Shweta ma'am.
Okay. Hello, ma'am. Yes. And are you able to hear me now?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So basically, what is blockchain technology? If we talk about blockchain technology, I think most of you, those who are already here, have a little idea that blockchain technology is basically concerned with security. So the core of this blockchain technology is security, the reliability, the trust, and the elimination of third party. So we have to initially we have to remember that there are four things, terms that are related to blockchain. That is reliability, trust, elimination of fraud, and security. So what is actually blockchain? Most people also have an idea, also think that it is a kind of database, that is a secure database. But blockchain is, if I go into the definition and understand each and every term of it, so let's understand this. Blockchain is an ever-growing ledger. By ever-growing ledger, I mean it is storing all the information in a form of a ledger. And ledger is basically a file that is storing all the information of present and future. So, and that keeps a permanent record of all transactions. Permanent record means that the record will be permanent. It cannot be changed. Blockchain is the essence, the thrust of blockchain is that it cannot be changed once recorded. So it's a permanent record. Even if it is required to be changed, then we have to update it and we have to add another block to it. So in a blockchain network, if I talk about, so basically blockchain is what is doing. Blockchain is connecting a network, connecting nodes in a network, and that nodes are having the database is stored in form of block. So, and the blocks are, they are in a sequential order. They are in chronological order. Chronological order means the sequence cannot be changed. So then, and again, the thing is that it is secured using the cryptographic techniques, that are the mathematical techniques of cryptography, of hashing and public key cryptography. So this is what is the essence of like what is definition of blockchain. Now, if I I just wanted to tell you so that people may get into interest of it, that blockchain is today's 2020's number one skill. Number one skill, although till now artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud was there, but for the today's means today era, blockchain is playing the most important role in all sectors. What is blockchain? So blockchain is open. Open means it is public, open to all, anyone and everyone. It is a distributed ledger. It is this, by distributed ledger we mean that it is not, it is there is no central authority. It is decentralized. Decentralized means all the nodes that are connected in the network is going to be the have their own, will have the central will have the authority. Okay, so they can make transaction, they can record transactions between two parties efficiently in a verifiable and permanent way. Verifiable and permanent way. In a blockchain, the nodes are connected and every node has the right, every node owner, the people that are that would be connected will have the right to connect, they would be able to verify and validate the transaction that is being taken place. Ledger, P2P, peer-to-peer network. The blockchain is connected through peer-to-peer network, and as I already told, it's permanent. It cannot be changed. Now, why, when you need blockchain, we have to understand that people usually have a confusion that blockchain is a database. Definitely, blockchain is a database, but in a, how is it, when is it required? Because the security concerns that we are talking about here, we have to understand that. So do you now, first of all, do you need a database or do you need a blockchain? Why, how is it different? So we will be definitely doing that, but let's understand this, when you need a blockchain. If when you need a database, you don't need a blockchain. If you want do you want many people to write on it, then also you don't need a blockchain. And but when you need a blockchain is when there is no trust. Do those people trust each other? The people that are those are connected in the network, do those people trust each other? If no, they do they have person in common they trust? If no, then you need a blockchain. Else, you, if the trust is there, then means blockchain, the essence and the trust, or another thing that blockchain has is that, like in a network, you, if people are connected without trust, and means like we are not known to each other, there are so many people connected together to each other, but they do not have trust in each other, then you need, then you can use the technology that is blockchain. So if we talk about data and database and blockchain, so the difference comes how data, how blockchain plays an important role in today's era comparatively to database. See, in database, no one has a central authority. In the blockchain, there is no one has a central authority, whereas in database, selective groups of individuals have authoritative control. Whereas if you talk about in blockchain, the modifying of data or asset is nearly impossible in blockchain. And when you talk about database, data or assets can be easily changed. In the blockchain, all the data or activity is out in open for everyone and anyone. But whereas in data, if you talk about the database, all the data or transactions are hidden from each other. But in case of blockchain, the transactions, the data that is floating, that is the information, that is the currency movement or anything transaction that is taking place is open for everyone. Then the first, means the another thing that blockchain is very important is it does not have third party control. So like usually in banks, what happens when we do some transactions, we are supposed to pay some fees, we are supposed to add some we have to give some service charges and all these things. But in the and to the third party, that is the bank. But here in the blockchain, all the people connected here, can anybody, like they all are connected together, and that that reduces the cost, because the means comparatively to that cost, the only a small amount of reward is given to the miner who is connected to the network. So I would be like showing through the structure that thing. So implementation cost of database is comparatively costlier than blockchain. Definitely blockchains are slow. Why block? Because the blockchain is database plus security. And for security, the mathematical calculation, uh, the amount of the computation power and all things are required. Because of that, blockchains are a bit slower, but we still are working with blockchain 3.0 version to make it a faster one. And probably coming with 5G and quantum computers, this would make definitely easy. So database are comparatively faster than and then again, if we talk about blockchain suited for an organization where users don't trust each other. Where the users don't trust each other, then blockchain is comfortable. Okay, but in case of database, it is suited for organization where there is a mutual trust. So summarizing with blockchain versus database, that we have authority, that is there is no central authority, integrity through cryptographic techniques, mathematical public key cryptography, hashing, right access only to the means right access is to all, but it should be verified and validated, and then only it would be added to the blockchain. So the cost is less, the trust is more. Let's understand. Okay, now blockchain is also called DLT. Blockchain is based on DLT, distributed ledger technology. How distributed ledger technology? Distributed ledger technology has these four pillars. It is cryptographically authentic, it is shared, it is distributed, and it is in a form of a ledger. So ledger is the basically an immutable record of every transaction that is occurring. Immutable, by immutable I mean that it cannot be changed. Okay. Distributed, there is no central authority. Shared, it is shared to all, everyone and anyone in the blockchain network. Cryptographically authentic, we are using digital signature and hashing techniques to apply this means we are applying this hashing and public cryptography to create these transactions. Now, finally, like if we talk about blockchain as it is an open source. Open source, when we defining in summarizing with what is blockchain. Blockchain is open source, uncensorable, robust, decentralized. When it goes open source, in the global network, anyone and everyone can join. Uncensorable, it cannot be shut down or hacked because it exists throughout every participating node globally. It means everybody is watching it. Whoever is in the network, everybody is watching it. Even a minor change will be known by others. Then robust is like because the power outages that cannot be bring it down because it is dispersed by nodes throughout the world. And decentralized, with no single authority in charge, the network remains with no economic geographical discrimination possible. So immutable, blockchain is a permanent record. Once added, it cannot be altered. And if any thing is required, any new transaction is required to be added, a new block is to be created, even if the changes is required. So once block, that is why it is called blockchain is irreversible. It cannot be reversed. Decentralized, they have network copies. A blockchain is stored in a file that can be accessed and copied by any node on the network. So this creates these decentralized. Now next means we are very well and understanding the concept of immutability, that is permanent and tamper proof, but decentralization, that is there is no center. Consensus driven, what is consensus? This is the very I must say consensus protocol, you must say, that is adding to the blockchain stack. So what is this? The consensus is the protocols are the like proof of work is there, proof of stake is there, delegated proof of stakes are there. So these are basically a type of mechanism by which trust is granted to the in the network and block is added. Until and unless by this consensus driven protocol, until unless it is not verified or validated, it cannot be added, the block cannot be added to the blockchain. Transparent, because it is an open file, open access, as I told in the earlier slides. So that is why it is open for everyone and anyone. Now, if I talk about the history of blockchain, so initially, like if not only the history of blockchain, we are talking about the mainframe era in 1960. Mainframe era, IBM sponsored. Then desktop era came from the Microsoft. Then cloud era came from the Google. Then decentralized area from has now started from the 2017, 18, from the time the 2009 the Bitcoin came, then 2017 Ethereum and all types of blockchain has arrived. So with this, the decentralized era has started. So when decentralized era has started, so there are no data monopolies are there. Data is user owned and can be used in any app. So it is universal. It is password-less authentication is there. Apps are running on user device, and people are using their apps and working with them. So let's understand how does a blockchain actually works. These were the only terms till now I was just discussing with, so that while discussion through the examples and through the concept, you would be able to understand what I'm talking about. So decentralized, we have understood immutability, we have understood that it is transparent, it is open to everyone and anyone. Then there is something called validation and verification, and that is done through consensus driven protocol. Now let's understand through an example. Suppose you have a file of transactions on your computer and two government accountants also have the same file on their computers. So as you make a transaction, what happens, your computer sends an email to each account. As suppose I make a transaction, and my computer will send an email to each the accountant who is connected to the network. Now each accountant, what they will do, they will rush to the first to check whether the transaction that I've made is valid or not. So they are going to validate it, verify it, and then if in case everyone agrees in the network, then only the transaction will be added to the chain. So like if this is the normal process. Now if we understand through the blockchain, so I am the node, I have a file of transaction on my computer in a form of a ledger. There are two government accountants, means there could be number of people, like around 5 to 1,000 of nodes that are connected in the blockchain network. So means among them, two government accountant, I call them miners. So what these miners also have the same file. In fact, all the nodes that are connected in the network, they have the same file on the computer. So it is distributed now. Now, as I make a transaction, my computer sends email to each accountant to inform them. Means I have broadcasted whatever transaction I have made in the network. Now, each accountant rushes to be the first to check whether I can afford that transaction. Suppose I have only 1,000 rupees. I'm trying to pay 15,000. So that is that I cannot afford. So and that affordability, that verification, and that validation is done through this. And the first to check and validate and reply all. So I will I will be the means among the miners, there would be the first one. Means suppose there are two miners, so they are what they are doing. There is something the consensus driven means proof of work is done by the miners. What they do, they validate and verify, and they when they through the like protocol, this is a proof of work. So what they do, once they verify and validate, they they update that transaction. Then only the transaction will be added to the new block. Okay, and that block will be added in the chain. So let's understand through an example, through a visual way. Someone requests a transaction here, and the requested transaction is broadcasted to P2P network, peer-to-peer network, consisting of the computers that you can see in the as nodes. Now the network, like there are 4 or 5 nodes that you can see for the time being, like here. Now the validation, Then as the transaction is done, first it is validated and then it is verified. So the validation is done to the network of node validate the transaction and the user status using known algorithms. What are those known algorithms? I'm talking about the consensus driven algorithms. Okay, so they validate it, and through also through public key hashing also. So they validate it and then it is verified. So the verified transaction can involve like cryptocurrency contracts, smart contracts. You may have heard, we will be doing that also, and records. So the first it is validated, then it is verified, and if it once it is verified, the transaction is combined to the other transactions to create a new block of data, as you can see in the figure, like here, block of data for the ledger. And then this is how the new block is then added to the existing blockchain and the transaction is complete. So this is the way actually blockchain works. Like another if means this figure was just telling you how the means like how the network first of all the transaction is broadcasted to P2P network, then it is validated, verified, and once it is verified by the miners, what is it is combined, it is added to the new block of data for the ledger, and this is how it is added to the blockchain. Let's take an example, like suppose A wants to send money to B. The transaction would be represented online for the time being as a block. The block will be broadcasted to every party in the network. Those in the network, among them, there would be few miners, there would be few, and the other would be the normal public network people. So among them, whoever wants to validate and verify, they will validate and verify the transaction. And then all others also agree with this validation and verification. Until unless it is not verified, the block will not be added to the chain, because it's like Bitcoin is a like Bitcoin. If you talk about the cryptocurrency, if this is going to be the thing, like nobody will be validating and verifying, how will the transaction will take? So many means there could be so many fraud conditions can arise. So validation and verification is the main part that miners are doing. So miners are actually the group of people that are means in the blockchain network. So all the data in the blockchain are stored in blocks. Every 10 minutes a new block is added to the blockchain, which consists of data of transactions in those last 10 minutes, and the money moves to A to B. So like you can see the block then added to the chain, which provides an indelible and transparent record of transaction, and the money moves from A to B. If you talk about blockchain in health, so blockchain in health, like a very good example, this I would say, like usually this is the most prominent, I must say, application blockchain. I mean, where blockchain is widely being used. Like I recently came to know there was a crores of rupees project for this medical while in the like in November, December I came to know about it. So it was a very good topic that I understood. So how a blockchain works? What happens? A patient in the remote area in the health, what happens? A patient in the remote area needs a specialist to access his medical record. Usually what happens, people have some rare disease which is not possible to be cured in a remote area or something like this. So what happens, like these people go to the doctor. The doctor maybe is not a specialist one, but he thinks like a special recommendation or specialist is required for this disease. So what the patient can do, he like the involving means interacting with the patient, a digital medical record of the patient can be prepared. So digital medical record will be there. So this digital medical record can be added to the blockchain. Then then it can means the patient, his doctor, the current doctor, the hospital, and the specialist all can consent to verify patient's official record and enter it into the blockchain. Now in this situation, what will happen, the patient is also having a copy, his present doctor is also having the copy, the hospital is also having the copy, and the specialist is also having the copy of whatever the treatment or whatever the medical information has been means, you know, for the patient, whatever cure or whatever his medical, right, x-rays or his you know, ECG reports or anything, whatever it is. So all these medical records can be stored in the blockchain. Now what will happen, but now this once the record is added to the blockchain, now it cannot be altered. Now this medical record has become part of the blockchain. Now what will happen, it can only be updated by adding a new block to the chain. Now whenever if like something new things happen. Now the advantage is the specialist can now access the record. He can recommend a treatment and with the consent of all parties, and the record can be updated in a block attached to the end of the chain. So suppose he tries to meet some other specialist also, he will also have the information. Okay, this was his sugar report, ECG report, X-ray report, or whatever the reports are there. So all these were the last month's updated report, and now I can treat. These were this was the medical history of the patient, and based on the specialist can give their advice to the patient for the medical treatment. So this is how, this is a very good idea. Like people are really working in the medical field. They are means in health especially, this is a very important concern, but definitely a very tough challenges in terms of research and working with it, because as we people know, medical line is something very it's very you know, variety of means there are different fields in medical. So what can happen is like the reports, the kind of reports generated, that means that digitally the transfer of it is a big, like then the concept of digital image processing comes, and that is to be, you know, that is a challenge that still we all have to work in health. So when you are thinking of doing research in blockchain in health, so we can take care of this also. Like you can go through means, but you can add a you can just check a field where you are actually interested, concerned with a doctor, and what actually reports are required, and that is how you can work with the means the formats of the digital record I'm talking about. Okay. Then if you then blockchain technology is a very means very ever growing and emerging in a form in a supply chain. So like supplying the here in supply chain industry, the supplier, the manufacturer, the regulator, the logistics, wholesaler, retailer, consumer, all can store their data, all can store the information, the credit, debit, everything, and all information regarding the material and everything can be stored in blockchain. And this is how it will reduce you know, corruption also, the fraud things that happens in terms of money, in terms of material. So this is the one field that blockchain is also working in the supply chain. Then voting is my own research area that I'm also working with. So voting is basically what is means we are trying to you know, work with online digital voting. Online digital voting in such a way where anonymity can be also there, the requirements of voting, transparency can also be there among voters. Then candidate registrations can be transparent, like public you know, means because voting is something like it's a public uh, you know, public voting is required. So what you could do in voting, the voters can vote via registration, and they can store their information. First of all, they can do registration. Their candidates registration can be done, their data can be secured using some cryptographic methods, and the whatever they vote, that vote can be act as a transaction, and that transaction can be stored in as in a form of block. And once this block is done, that is in a, on now based on the voting, that vote can be added to the candidate chain. So there is a concept of longest chain in blockchain, so that could be used in voting in the blockchain. So like if you visually see this, voter marks ballot and he submits it, voter's choice, whatever he has whoever he has voted, that can be represented as a block, and the vote block is proposed to parties in the network to be checked for the valid, means whoever parties are there, they can check for the validity of the vote, that means expected that there is no coercion resistance. What is coercion resistance? Is basically some other will be voting on behalf of the registered voter. So for this, the verification and validation can be done. So for that also, again, the blockchain cryptography is used. There are many algorithm, blind signature, and all types of algorithms are used. So parties in the network confirm the vote is valid, and if the block confirm that the vote is valid from the registered voter, then the block will get added to the blockchain, and whoever gets the longest chain rule means the maximum number of blocks will be added to the party, he will be the winner. So votes on the blockchain will be tabulated here, like in the figure, to determine the winner. So this is how, this is one of the applications of blockchain, like I've discussed few of them. Medical records, supply chain, food chain, voting on the blockchain. Let's talk about the types of blockchain. This was types of blockchain. There are three types of blockchain: public blockchain, private blockchain, federated blockchain. Public blockchain is the real blockchain, actually, the real concept of blockchain, because it is decentralized, it is public to everyone and anyone. Then it does not need any permissions for any, and there is no single authority in the public blockchain. Whereas in private blockchain, it is basic, means you can example of the public blockchain could be the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. And private blockchain, if we talk about, it is basically a permission blockchain, means there are a number of people who are only allowed, who has the authority to add blocks in the chain. So they are means that is based on the company internal, whatever, means whoever wants to use, and it is quite like centralized one. So people prefer to use when the concept comes of public blockchain. When the concept comes of blockchain, the public blockchain is the actual that is what is actually used. Then federated is a hybrid one, that is a combination of public and private both. So public blockchain has no single owner, they are visible by anyone, and it is open to participate, it is open to all to participate, and they are fully decentralized. So the example that you can say, as I have showed you through this figure, that is it's Bitcoin. Then it's private. Private is permission blockchain. It is also called permission blockchain. Here there are few number of people who are who are given privilege to control, to read and write in the blockchain, and there are also consensus. There are no need of consensus algorithms here. Then hybrid is there. Hybrid is a combination of both public and private. So means not exactly completely private, not exactly completely public. In this one, more than one or two people have the permission to read and write in the blockchain. Like in the public blockchain and private blockchain, public blockchain is, that is why it is called permissionless. There is no single authority. Everybody is authorized to read and write. An open network system where all the devices can freely access without any kind of permission. So the ledger is shared and transparent. Then if we talk about private blockchain, it is permission. So permission means a user has to get permission by the blockchain authority. So he or she could access the network. The user might join only if she gets an invitation. Now let's understand the blockchain history. So blockchain history, actually the blockchain has started, means the concept definitely grown in 2009 when Satoshi Nakamoto initiated, but in 2008. But before that, the concept of hash linked and time stamping was already there. So then blockchain 1.0 came, that is the cryptocurrency, and that is Bitcoin, that everybody knows. That is each of its block contain cryptographic hash taking from the previous block, and we very well know Bitcoin. Then if we talk about blockchain 2.0, that is based on the smart contract. What is smart contract? Smart contract is a program. Like if I talk difference between one blockchain 1.0 and blockchain 2.0, blockchain 1.0 was only based on exchange of currency, but blockchain 2.0 gave an idea of the blockchain technology, because cryptocurrency, this Bitcoin, is just an application of blockchain technology. So the concept of blockchain technology, when it comes to using in all these sectors, so when it comes to using all these sectors, the smart contract concept has come. Like if I will be also voting, means like I have told you that voting, e-voting will be done, so that will be also done based on the smart contract. So smart contract is type of an agreement. So that is agreement between the parties, and that smart contract, we will represent this in a blockchain in a form of a program code. So like just like triggers in database, smart contracts also behaves similarly. So Ethereum is an example of blockchain 2.0. Then came blockchain in 2017 with Web 3.0. Blockchain 3.0, distributed applications have come, that is distributed apps. There are around 3,000 apps that has been uh, already working. So then blockchain 3.0 D apps is, I was just wanted to add, that is based on directed acyclic graphs. So that is, they are using the technology, the concept of data structure directed acyclic graph. Then comes blockchain 4.0, that is based on Hyperledger. Hyperledger is is again a blockchain platform, just like Ethereum in blockchain 2.0. So that is means, I think that is from the IBM. Okay. So this is how blockchain 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. 1.0 was completely currency based. Blockchain 2.0 is based on smart contracts, and it is basic. It is being used in stocks, bond, finance sector, in finance field. It is basically used stocks, bonds, loan, mortgages, smart properties. So here, and Ethereum and Hyperledger is a platform that people usually use with the smart contract concept. Then blockchain 3.0 is like, as I told you, the apps are there. There is something Blockstack. So you can use Blockstack to develop D apps. Okay, there are some myths about blockchain that people usually have, that blockchain is cryptocurrency. No, blockchain is not a cryptocurrency. Blockchain is an blockchain technology is an application. Cryptocurrency is an application of blockchain technology. So blockchain is not all about crypto. It is just we can that is just a currency that is being implemented on that blockchain concept. Blockchain has become everything. No, blockchain cannot be it cannot be applied in every cases. Blockchain can be applied in cases where a lot of security concerns and everything is more means security is more concerned, then only blockchain can be used. So like for to do app, like if for what I want to do type of app, if you want, we cannot, it's a probably a waste using in such a condition. So blockchain should be used in sectors where like database security is something important, data or data ownership is important, identity management is important, transparency is required, immutable, the database should be immutable. In this situation, blockchain is will play a very big role. Then third party, as I told you, blockchain also eliminates the concept of third party. So that means the third party concept that you do not want other people to involve. So these are the concepts where blockchain can be used. I just wanted to show, in case like you may have uh, you know have doubts regarding it. So I just have a video by BBC News that is really showing really well how actually what is the concept of blockchain technology is. Okay, I just like to play. If you people can hear, please inform me in the chat box.
Hello, Shweta ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Share your screen. Your screen is not visible. Yes, now it's visible.
Oh, were you
Okay,
able to
okay.
not see
You
the
are
video?
sharing. Yeah. You are sharing this. Yeah.
Video is showing, ma'am.
Yes. Now it's showing.
Participants, mute yourself.
Ma'am, can you see my screen? Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It is visible. What
Yes,
is the
yes,
blockchain in the
it's
block?
visible.
Ma'am, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
So this is how actually do cryptocurrency works. So there are people, you know, you cannot trust single person, but you can trust all. So this is what is the concept of blockchain technology. That it's like people who are connected in the network that is public, although everybody is anonymous, not knowing each other, not knowing each other, but still the trust is there. So the trust is based on the consensus driven, as it told, like 50% means maybe single person may have changed the value, like somebody changed it, but all cannot change it. So this is what is the concept of blockchain. So I hope now blockchain, what is blockchain is clear. So what is block in the blockchain and how this is actually looks like? So blockchain is basically chain of data block. Each block can be thought as a ledger. The individual blocks have the individual blocks are composed of several components, and these are the components which are very essential for the block to be verified and validated. And this is only these are the components which are going to actually uh, help us to understand that the block has not been changed or is not being hacked. So how does a block look like actually? Each block has a version information. The version information is based on the software version, the like what kind of Ethereum or whatever platform you may have used. Then there is nonce. I will be covering it later. What is nonce actually? Previous block hash. Previous block hash, the block here is always connected, the chain of block, how the chain of block is there. Chaining of block is done based on the previous hash. This previous hash is actually the the hash of the previous block is contained in the hash of the new block. The blocks of the blockchain all build on each other. So without this component, if the previous hash is not there, there would be no connection and no chronology between each block. So there should be a sequence. So that is what is the role of the previous block hash. Timestamp is the time of the transaction has taken place. Then Merkle tree, the Merkle is the concept, Merkle root. All transactions that are contained in the block can be aggregated in a hash, and this is the root hash of the Merkle tree. So these are few things, like this is how first of all the block structure looks like. That is version information. The nonce is there. Nonce is a random number generated after validation and verification of the particular block. Previous block is previous block hash is for the connection between the blocks, for the chaining of the blocks. And then Merkle is actually Merkle is actually what is doing the root hash. Merkle tree concept also I would be discussing later with the slides. Then these are the transactions. These are here that are there, list of transactions and their identified hashes that would be included with the block Merkle tree. So the consensus, the verification and validation is done in the first based on these 5 components. That is the version information, nonce, previous block, timestamp, and the Merkle. So these are the components that you can see: version information, previous block, Merkle root, time, bits, and nonce. So here the hashing is implemented, and the hashing that is implemented is SHA-256. And based on when this hash is, a new hash block is created, and this new hash block becomes the previous hash block of the new block. Okay, so these two things, that is the version information and previous block hash, is the constant information that is retrieved from the last block. and Merkle root and time updated from time to time. Roughly every 10 minutes, a new transaction is added, and based on this, the Merkle root hash changes. So this is something like updated from time to time. Then there is a concept of difficulty level. Difficulty level is for the miners, like to actually mine the database, to mine the block, there is a difficulty level, because as I in the Bitcoin just now in the video we saw that the whoever solves the puzzle first, he gets the reward, and that solving the puzzle has a difficulty level done. So like for example, suppose I want a hash that it should start with initiate with the 4 zeros in first. So that is the type of difficulty cryptographic puzzle that we give, and that is what is the difficulty level. Then no, based on once it is once the miner solves the difficulty level and solve this, then only it is validated and verified among the nodes that are connected in the network, and then a nonce is created. A nonce is the uh, number when the difficulty level has been solved. So that nonce is a randomly number generated after means it is when the nonce is generated, it means the block has been digitally certified, it has been digitally verified. So then a nonce is done. Okay, I would be showing it through practically, because more of these things are like the terminologies are really new in this blockchain. For the new ones I am doubtful, like, because things are really, the terms are there, so we have to understand that way. Okay, so for the new hash, always the hashing of this is done, and SHA 256 secure hash algorithm 256 is used. How does this cryptographic hash takes place? So what is done, a private key is there, whatever database you have, its one-way hash function is uh, generated. Based on this, like I just forgot to tell you all that basically in blockchain uses elliptic curve cryptography. Elliptic curve cryptography that generates public and private key both, and that is what is used for both encryption and decryption. So here also the same concept in how this cryptography, and with combine means the blockchain is actually combining the public cryptography, the public key cryptography and hashing to generate the Bitcoin address. So like see, like here there is a private key. You're implementing using this private key in one-way hash function, and the public key is easy to compute from this private key. Now this public key, when hashed, becomes the Bitcoin address. In both the situation, if you see, the reverse is very hard, and the means like if you're from the public from the hash function, because one-way hash function, as you know, it cannot means for the same input, the same hash is going to come. Even a small change in the hash input will give us a variable hash output, right? So this is how the cryptographic hash function is combined with public key cryptography, and a Bitcoin public address is there, and this is how also we achieve anonymity in blockchain. So how does the blockchain actually works in when in terms of transactions? So let's see, suppose there are 4 transactions: transaction A, transaction B, transaction C, transaction D. Transaction A hash values there, transaction B hash values there, transaction C hash values calculated, transaction D hash values calculated. In the Merkle tree, what they do, they combine this hashes. Okay, the first, the data itself is first hash, means the transaction here is first itself is first hash, then the hashes are hashed again and merged. Finally the Merkle tree is merged into a single hash. Like here you can see there were 4 transactions, A, B, C, D. So the combined hash value is now A, B, C, D. Okay, so this last hash is called a root hash. Like as I shown in the this Merkle root. This Merkle root actually contains the root hash of all the transactions. So how does that root hash of transaction takes place? here there are suppose 4 transactions, as I told. The data itself is first hash, the transaction is itself first hash, then the hashes are hashed again and merged. Finally, the Merkle tree is merged into a single hash, and this last hash is the root hash. That is the root hash of the tree, and it represents all the information of its leaves and branches. Now, creating the root hash is quick and easy comparatively. And what is the advantage of using this hash is uh, the function of a hash, it works clearly and quickly. First of all, the hash function works clearly and quickly in one direction. It is impossible to break down in the other direction. That is the property of hash. And if the root hash is known, but the transactions are unknown, it is impossible to guess the transaction. So that is the advantage of Merkle. And other than this, storing because there are a number of transactions going to take place in our block. So is it possible that we are going to store each and every transactions data? No. So that is also becomes difficult. So instead, we use this Merkle tree concept to to store this root hash, which at least identifies that this transaction has come out originated from where. So root hash alone is therefore not enough, and the rest of the but still the root hash is not enough to identify. So the rest of block must be there. The miner can validate the root hash at any time by hashing the information contained in the block again. So as long as the hash function is the same, the miners always get the same hash for the given input of the data. So this is very handy, important for the Merkle tree concept. So now how does the block say? So we have in the block the Merkle tree, the combined hash of the transaction, hash of block, that is the previous hash, the timestamp, and the nonce generated when validation and verification is done. So this is how a block is created, and if this all works well, then only a block is added to the blockchain. Role of miners, like I've been discussing again and again regarding the verification and validation of miners. So what is the role of miners? So role of miners are basically they are the group of people who around the work that which runs the Bitcoin ledgers. So basically here the miners are also called validators. They use some consensus algorithms, like I told you, proof of work, delegated proof of work, proof of stakes. These are basically based on cryptographic puzzles given to them. They could be if then conditions also. Like for example, if I say there should be my number means after solving a puzzle, the answer should be 15, or it could be between the range 10 to 15. So the miners have to reach to that condition that the value should come 10 to 15. So that is how these consensus algorithms works. They choose, like age is less than 18, that is like I give this condition. So this is how the consensus algorithm, based on the condition, they pool and assemble them, and they give proof of the work, and then the block is added to the blockchain. So, and if I talk about the Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency, so you can see here an encrypted transaction is created by the transmitting wallet, and it is submitted to the network node. Then this whatever the transaction is, it is broadcasted in the network. The pending transactions also are broadcasted. Then they have the pool of proposed transactions, and so they are validated by miners through the consensus mechanism. And then once the consensus is reached, miners, they get the best Bitcoin gives the reward of 12.5 Bitcoin in case the miner verifies whichever node or miner validates the block. And once they are validated by the miners, share this new block of encrypted transaction to all network nodes for creating trusted records, and that is updated in the complete network. and the validated transaction are factored to store value to by receiving wallet, means the transaction is done. Okay, I would like to show a demo on this blockchain, like how does a blockchain works. So just get into it. Okay, first of all, let's see how does a Bitcoin first blockchain that was introduced in 2000. Are you able to see my screen, ma'am? Hello,
It's visible.
it's
It's
visible.
Yes,
visible,
yes.
Shweta.
So this, yeah. So this was the first block that was created, Bitcoin. So you all can see how does a block actually looks like. Here we can see. See, the hash is the hash of the previous block. That is the chain. So since it was the first block, so like, and you can see there are 8 zeros initially. Confirmation is the number of transactions confirmed till then. Timestamp, that is 1st September 2009 and time. Height is 1. Height is 1 means the number of transactions being completed. Miner is unknown here. There is no known miner here. In case the known miner is known, the address would be there. Number of transactions, since this is the first transaction, so that is why it is number of transaction is 1. Difficulty level, since only one puzzle being solved, so 1. Merkle root is the hash, as I told it, number of transactions का जो Merkle hash root निकाला, root hash निकाला जाता है, that is what is Merkle root. And the version is there, the bits, the weight, the size, nonce is then created after the value, means this is the random nonce that is being created. And the reward is given, that is 50 BTC reward is being given to the miner on solving this, on validating the transaction. So this is one thing. Let's take a demo on how actually blockchain looks like. So first of all, I'll just start from the basic hash. Any data, as you know, given to the hash, any changes in the hash, hi, hello, if I do, that it's changing, means the value of hash is changing. Even if I if even I do instead of hello, if I write hello, hell, then also the value is changing. So that first property that the since we are using SHA-256, so it is one-way function that and that is irreversible. And the best part is that for the same input we get the same hash. Okay, so this is what a hashing is done through. Then in a block, what happens? It is similar to the hash one, but only the here the nonce is there and the data is there. Now what is there? The first block, its name is here. Nonce is a random number right now. Now what is happening? As I'm going to change my, as I'm going to add some data here. Hi, hello. So you can see that hash is changing. As I'm changing, as I'm giving input, the hash is changing. Okay, so this is but if you notice one thing, the first block, that was the corrected block. So if I say corrected means the validated and verified block. So here you will see that the hashes here are starting with 4 zeros. Okay, so I should, whenever I'm doing something, whenever I'm writing here hi or hello, anything, or Shweta, okay, so what is it doing? It's changing the hash value, but it is not actually giving the corrected value. How will it, how do I know that it is not the corrected value? Because it should have this 4 zeros initiated, means that it is not yet digitally signed. So how will it digitally sign? By mining it. So the miners are here going to mine this, and once I'll just click on the mine, it would take time. Oh, okay, so now you see that again, if once mined, the 4 zeros that we can see here. So it means that whatever data block, it has been digitally signed, it has been digitally certified by the miner, and now this block can be added to the blockchain. So this was a simple block that I could show you people here. Then if I go into if you go into the blockchain, how does blockchain actually looks like? So we have number of blocks that are added through nodes. So even if I do a minor change, see, it's getting red, it's getting pink. I probably, even if maybe in your screen it's getting red, but in my screen it's pink. So hello, what does it means? It is not, because I have made a change in the already inbuilt data block. I have made changes. Now once I do not do any changes, it is getting green, means it is validated. Now for the timing, we feel like this is just a demonstration that I'm giving. So what I'll do, what I want to demonstrate here is, if this is the block, this is the previous, since this was the first block, so it has the previous hash as 000. The new generated hash of this particular block 1 is 40015, this is 0000157. Now this hash you can see in the previous hash of the block number 2, and this is how actually the chaining of block is done. So here this hash is actually hash of the first block, but here in the block 2 it will be considered as a previous hash. So if in case this hash and this hash does not matches, it means they are not, the block is not the part of that blockchain, or it has been intentionally added or something, whatever. Okay, so like this is what the first concept is, that how the blockchains are actually, how the blocks are chained to form a blockchain. So they are based on this hash value. The previous hash value actually determines that this is the part of this blockchain. Next is, if we think of okay, now let's do some changes here. Okay, see, one thing more. If I do a change in my, there are only 5 blocks here just for the demo. I have, hello. Okay, so now you can see that the hash value has changed, and the hash value is not verified and validated, because as per the difficulty level that we have thought of, that it should have 4 zeros in initial. So it should require to be mined, and once mined, let's see how it will take time. Okay, so if on the mining, now it's again has got green, but this was easy to mine. But in case I would have done changes, the net is slow. Now in case I have done changes in between somewhere in the block 3, so you will see, you will notice that other blocks have also affected. Why? Because they are ultimately connected to each other through this previous hash. So this is, if I'm going to do changes in any of the blocks in between, it is going to affect the complete block. So that is not possible, and this will not consider these will not be considered as validated and verified. So in that case, even if this is done, I have to suppose to mine this also. First of all, I'll mine the data block that I have made changes. Then again, I have to mine the 4th block also. Then again, I have to mine the block 5 also. Okay, it's taking time due to internet. See, now it's mine, because we can see that it has got green, and because I made changes in the 3rd block, so I have to mine 4th block also, 5th block also, and the 6th block also. So the point is, if I change any information, hash is changing. And the thing is that in means the more the block, the older the block is, the more difficult it would be for a hacker or for a miner to change the block. Okay, so this was about block the chain. Then if I go to distributed, let's see, I just showed you how is it actually. In distributed we have peer A with number of blocks. In distributed B we have peer of number of blocks, and you will see that they are all updated in the same, means the same data is with all three of them, all three peers. There are only three peers that I've mentioned here. So suppose I do change in any of the block, if suppose I do changes in peer block, peer B, so you will see that first of all the hash is changing, and even if I mine this peer B, I have to mine the complete because second block I mine, so third is also required to be mined. But now you'll see what fourth is also to be. Okay, there were five.
Let's share.
Now
Yes, no, sir.
Madam, kindly unmute yourself. Shweta madam, please unmute yourself.
hello, were you able to not hear from how much time? Abhigyan sir,
No,
how
no,
much
no.
time it took?
I
Just now it happened.
just muted you. Yeah, just now, just a second. That's all.
Are you
Everything
able to
is
see? Okay.
clear.
Now you people will
Yeah,
notice
definitely.
that yeah, now you will notice that in the peer block B, you will see the hash has changed. Now, because comparatively to peer block A and peer block, although peer A is having the same hash in the block 3, in the peer C, you are having the same hash, that is 400B90. But because I made changes in the block 3 of peer B, it is not the same. So it means, but it means that it is not a validated block. Why they will reject this block? Why they will reject this block? Because out of 3 peers, 2 have the same hash, but the one I have made changes is not having the same hash. So this is what happens in blockchain. That is why nobody can change like means any way anything in between. Okay, because there are people to witness the transaction, there are people to verify, validate the transaction that is going to take place. Okay, since it's time running and I have a lot to tell, so I'll just move with my slides. So that is what I these are the few things I also wanted to tell, although I have completed most of them. So behind the scene, there is the maths behind the blockchain, that it is cryptographically hardened. It has been, there are distributed consensus that are cryptographic puzzles to be solved by the miners, and therefore it is mined. And there is a Merkle tree concept for finding the root hash, the initiation of the transaction, and the root of the block. So the head of the block is divided into 6 components that we have already discussed. So I will not. So Merkle tree concept once more I would write to see like this transaction as I've told you in the diagram. So remarkable benefits of blockchain technology, if we talk, that it has faster settlement, immutable, increased network capacity, shared and distributed, decentralized, and it is more secured. And in terms of just use cases, I explained because I probably think people who are like new to blockchain will means probably can work with these. There are so many blockchains already. The people are working with it. So in based on the use cases that of your interest, you can see when I'll be sharing the slides. So based on the digital content, if you want to work with digital content, documentations, these are the already work, means these are the blockchains there. For a real estate, there is a Factom. For application, blockchain and IoT. Okay, one thing I just would like to add, there is a blockchain is a beautiful combination when it is added to IoT. because IoT needs security. The basic concern with IoT today is security. That is why it is not practically, we are not able to implement it. So when IoT you are combining with blockchain security, it is going to be a wonderful combination. What I feel like, that is my personal uh, description in terms of research area. So current means like definitely currency exchange, and definitely India is going to probably deploy its own currency in future. So these were the some few use cases. I would have discussed it more because time is running, so I just move to smart contracts. So what is smart contract? Smart contract is basically a computer program or a transaction protocol that is which is intended to automatically execute, just like a trigger in a database, control a document, respective events and action according to the terms of the contract. It was proposed by a computer scientist, that is Nick Szabo, in 1996. So what is smart contract? Smart contract, I just in a basic example if I would give, is like suppose there are two person who wants to, one person wants to sell and the other one wants to buy. So the seller who wants to sell will do an agreement, and he will tell all the details regarding whatever he wants to sell, and what would be he would do an agreement that this is the cost of my product and everything, and this is fixed enough, and this once paid, and all these like in normal online system, online online business, it's done. So what it who he does, he writes a smart contract that I'm going to sell this property or sell this product in these condition and all this everything, whatever he wants to write, whatever his he wants to wants the buyer to fulfill the conditions. Like for registry, he wants the minimum amount, initially 1 lakh rupees or something, and after the 50 days or after 1 month he wants this amount, whatever these the kinds of a contract is there. So what is there, like a smart contract is a type of agreement. Now this agreement is written in a form of a computer code in the blockchain. So I would give an example of Ethereum blockchain, which I have been using. So Ethereum blockchain, I'm writing a smart contract using Solidity language. Solidity language is a combination of JavaScript, C++ language. So this it's an object-oriented language, just like other C++. So similarly, using classes and constructors, you can write a smart contract, and that smart contract you can deploy. You can compile it, run it, and you can deploy using the whatever like Ethereum uses the Ether. Okay, so the code here that contains a set, this code, this blockchain smart contract code contains set of rules or policy that I told you, just like whatever condition, on what condition he wants to buy or sell, he will write those conditions in that. So under which the parties of the smart contract will agree and will interact with each other. Like I give you an example. So how does it works actually? A contract is created between two parties. Both parties remain anonymous. It is not essentially that okay. The contract is stored. Hello. My voice is getting repeated. Okay. A contract is created between two parties. Both parties remain anonymous. The contract is stored on a public ledger. Now, now this contract stored in a public ledger, the code is stored. Now then the code we are going to mention the time it is supposed to be triggered. Then it is going to be the deadline when you want it to be triggered. So the contract self-execute as per written code. So the timings and deadlines you can mention. The regulators and users can analyze all the activities and predict market uncertainties and trends. So the means the matchmaking is done for the seller and buyer. Transaction is done, receiving assets and assets distribution. For this, the buyer and the seller should be registered. They should automate the settlement of contract, and hence no third party is required. So how does actually a smart contract works? Suppose I want to sell a house. We will match the smart contract is going to match the buyer and seller exchange conditions, and that condition will be stored in the form of program in the smart contract. They are going to receive assets and the contract will be distributed. Based on this, the registry and ownership is, the registry will be done. The person buys the house, so he is going to receive the asset also, and the contract is going to be distributed also. And this is how the house can be sold without any third party. And all this will whatever documentation and whatever things were done will be stored in the blockchain. Now, what will happen in this situation? There would be, like, usually what happened, there is a usually the property issues are there. Who buyed, who sold, who was the owner initially. There are so many issues regarding properties these days, land properties. So in this situation, it would be the information will be there that this person has sold the property and this person was the buyer. So this information, whenever the new buyer may be selling it, so this information the other person will also come to know through blockchain that yes, he was initially the owner of that Mr. X was the owner of the actual land property. Like, then option contract written as code into a blockchain. Contract is part of the public blockchain, so parties involved here are anonymous, and the contract executes itself when the conditions are met. So regulators use blockchain to keep an eye on contracts. So there are regulators who are there, like just like miners, who use these to keep an eye on how the contracts are. So based on events, like in Solidity language, if I say, the events are required to be created. So what smart contract actually gives us? It gives us autonomy that you are the one, you are making the agreement. There's no need to rely on a broker or a lawyer. Then just your documents, whatever your information, that is encrypted in on a shared ledger. Backup, definitely on the blockchain, your documents are duplicated okay, there is a concept of double spending also, which is reduced by blockchain. Accuracy, the smart contracts are not only faster and cheaper, but also avoid the errors that come from manually filling out. There are so many forms to be filled during registration and during the paperwork during buying and selling. So that also reduces. Savings, smart contract saves you money, saves your money. They are known out the presence of because there is no presence of any intermediary in between. The use cases of smart contracts, just like I told on blockchain, you can record storing, trading activities can be seen, supply chains, mortgaging, real estate market, copyright protection could be done, government voting can be done through smart contracts that I'm already working with, insurance claims, and IoT definitely. So this is how. Advantages we have already discussed, that no paperwork, backup is there, trustworthy, and efficient performance is there, no miscommunication, nobody can claim anybody other, any third party can claim between the transactions. So everything would be so transparent that there would be no issues of fraud or things. So that is the best part of using smart contract, that is an agreement between the people. Okay, then if I talk about the history, web 3.0, web 3.0, like in the initial slide I told you that we have entered into a decentralized era. So the new internet is a user centric and more secured, and it's better connected. So initially web 1.0 was based on basic HTMLs and EMLs. Through this, what we do in 2.0, we have become information centric and interactive through different types of apps and all. But in decentralized, there are no need of other third party, and it is based on user centric. By user centric, means the user is the owner of the data. User is means what he has, he do not have to tell anybody else. So that is the best part here. Then web 3.0 is anti benefits. There is anti-monopoly, just like for smart contracts we have secure network, data ownership is there, interoperability, no interruption in services. Definitely interruption services will be depend on the network, blockchain network that you connected. Permissionless blockchain, we do not need to take any permissions from anyone. There are semantic webs and ubiquity. Now I just want to with smart contract, I just wanted to smart contract basically can be implemented also in various platforms like Corda, Ethereum, Hyperledger. But I have used Ethereum, so I just would like to tell you what Ethereum is, and you people can also use it. It's really easy working with it. So Ethereum is again an open source public blockchain based distributed computing platform where you can, where you can execute your smart contract, where you can compile, run it, and deploy it. So it basically provides what? It provides EVM. Ethereum has an EVM, that is Ethereum Virtual Machine, which can execute scripts using an international network of public nodes. So it was released in 31st July 2015 by Ethereum Foundation. The languages that Ethereum basically if you want to go with Python, you can use Serpent, and if you want means you can directly, if you know C, C++ and JavaScript, you can go for Solidity language. And it's really easy. If you know C++, you can easily create classes, and that based on means you just need to write like just what we do. We do a we draw a class diagram. We use a use case diagram. Okay, before developing software or something. Similarly, here also we first design a smart contract, and based on this, like if you can see here in the slide, I've just drawn a contract name as simple storage, where the bit of information is being stored. So probably I can show you through the actual practical. EVM is the Ethereum virtual machine. Actually, what happens? The smart code is written in high-level language, that is Solidity, and that gets converted into bytecode. And that then this bytecode to execute this bytecode, we have Ethereum virtual machine, so which is designed to permit this untrusted code to be executed in the network. Okay, so here and the EVM, like if Ethereum EVM, that is Ethereum virtual machines, the compatible blockchains that they work with is the public and private. As I initially in the starting I told that there are public blockchain, private blockchain, and federated. So but these but this Ethereum virtual machine is compatible with public and private blockchain. If we compare this Ethereum and Bitcoin, first of all, the basic difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum is like Bitcoin is only for cryptocurrency, okay, means exchange of currency. But Ethereum is helping us to develop apps, that is distributed apps, DApps, because Ethereum is a platform that is helping us people to develop apps using the smart contract concept. So it helps us that way. So block time here, the execution takes 12 seconds. Here that it's taking 10 minutes to create a new block. Reward here is 5 ether. Now, I mean Ethereum, like just like it has Bitcoin, this has the currency of 5 ether. We select proof of algorithm. They use memory based because it is based on the number of nodes connected in the network. And if we talk about Bitcoin, it is using SHA-256, like I initially showed the example through a diagram. Then the cost of transaction in Ethereum is based on the called as gas. If I would have shown you, there was written, I'll just show you. I'll just show you in a minute. I'll just complete with this. The cost of transaction is called gas, and the costing of transaction depend on the storage needs, complexity, and bandwidth usage. But here in the Bitcoin, it depends on the size of the transaction and speed of the validation. So that is what it storage needs. Why storage need? Because smart contract is being there, is executed. That is native token. Here it is Ether, and here it is Bitcoin. Smart contract is executed in EVM, although Bitcoin is not supporting the EVM. Future of blockchain, I'll just show you where we can do this Ethereum running of the blockchain. Like if you can, yes ma'am, you can see my screen. I have just the program that I show in these slides. I'm just executing it. So this is a storage program. I just Solidity. This is a Solidity compiler. You can go to remix.ethereum.org to run your smart contract. So what you can do here, you can first of all write, this is a way, like right now I cannot tell you all, but this is a means program that I have written. I have wrote a contract storage, and then I have I've tried to store value in variable, because basically smart contract stores state variables. So, and based on this state variable only, when it's executed, the smart contract gets triggered. So here we can use the where we can compile the language, and you can publish it in own form. And then one thing that these are the number of contracts that you can on the right left hand side that you can add on, just like with other programs that we do. Then this compilation, and once it is compiled, I just see if it's compiling. So it's not compiling, I have to go through it. Okay, you can have debugger, and once it is compiling, you compile, you can run it and deploy it, and the results can show. So you can do your programming of Solidity using remix.ethereum.org. It will take time because Solidity is a new language, and I'm also learning it, by the way. So this is all about the Ethereum. Then if we talk about future of Okay, then we talk about future of blockchain technology. We have government cryptocurrency. That is a great possibility that government could adopt cryptocurrency or creates its own cryptocurrency in the future. Then we have blockchain identity system. For this Aadhaar based identity system, blockchain can be a good idea that government can use. So blockchain based identity system can be used to different types of data that we have, that is government records, reputation and trust scores, certificates and attestations, uh, healthcare and medical records, as I gave an example recently, tax identification, employment records, and many more. So based on these government social requirement, we can implement blockchain. Then world trade on blockchain, most of the international trades will be, like I told tell you, but China is really working a lot with the blockchain. They have almost the most of their sectors have already started using with the blockchain. So they have because of their connectivity and all those things, they have really worked on. So we have some of the most important examples that means, like if you want to go to research and supply chain problems, if real world supply chain problems, I can tell you here. There are counterfeit medicines in the pharmaceutical industries, food supply chain in China that they are already working with, as then there are fashion apparels, which are the issue that you can also means the supply problem is there here, supply chain problem is there. Then okay, so these are the leading sectors: supply chain, fintech, that is related to your health care, retail trade, many more. Like I've had in all sectors. So we are working already in most of the work here, Google, like working with you have all the occurred already provided. Hopefully we to be whatever we have studied, probably required to be learned in. So blockchain is more visual way. So I tried doing blockchain. What is blockchain that we really need in terms of that I've explained what is blockchain, how the blockchain transactions are double and is world mining. Double spending is a problem that is it is eliminated by blockchain. So that is a top transaction pending that runs on this spending through proof of work. Then Bitcoin cryptocurrency, what is Bitcoin exchange? It's a permissionless vertical of like blockchain transformation into technology, into media, law, crime, transportation, human rights, finance, contracts, entertainment, so everywhere. Entertainment, recently, a few days before, I saw news in which the songs that are like these singers sing. So they are also like because some these days somebody stole somebody's lyrics, somebody stole somebody's these things. So all this things are also getting into blockchain technology. Recently, 2 days, I was trying to add that news to it, but I think it's more than enough. So that industry is also working with blockchain technology to secure their talent, you can say. Blockchain as a service, like we have a cloud service, PaaS, SaaS, and all. So similarly, BaaS is there, that is blockchain as a service, and the vendors are the IBM, Oracle, AWS, Alibaba, Accenture, and there are enterprise platforms like Fabric, Corda, which you can use for as a BaaS, that is blockchain as a service. We have Amazon, Accenture, Baidu, Alibaba. So and the blockchain. These in the right hand side, you can see these are the blockchain platforms: R3, Corda, Ripple, Ethereum, Quorum, Hyperledger, Fabrics, and all this. So what are the advantages finally with the blockchain? 0% of fraud, no government interference until unless required, immediate transactions based on the network connectivity, greater financial efficiency, and the stability is definitely there. But although till now we have been only studying about the advantages, let's understand some disadvantages. There is a 51% attack also, but that is very rare. Because usually what happens when it comes to validation and verification, initially in Bitcoin also this concept is used. What happens in case 50% of people in the network agrees, and if 51% people agrees to for a block to be verified and validated, then it is added. Okay, so in terms of security concern, the 49% didn't agree. So but it is not actually feasible for anyone to that 50%, 51% validation and verification can be done in a blockchain. Until the blockchain, the larger the blockchain, the more secure it is actually. Yes, to an extent it is unstable also, because there are few problems that are like real-time problems that are still with the connectivity, with the identity management infrastructure we do have. Crime can be possible, but it's very rare, like until unless we cannot say everything has 100% there. Then no data modification could be done, and means suppose somebody wants to genuinely change something, so that is not possible with the blockchain, and requires huge storage due to a lot of cryptographic hashing things and documentation included with it. And definitely a high maintenance cost is based on the Ethereum platform based on the blockchain platform being used. Okay, then comes research and blockchain. If we think of research, can be done on how to bring about increased transparency. Global supply chain is a very current topic where a lot of blockchain concepts are being used, and research can be really those who are planning for research in blockchain can go into it, and means can research more for it. Yes, there are use cases that I discussed, that is financial and non-financial in my slide. So based on that, you can look for the that could be an interesting research topics. Then definitely the measurement of the sustainability impact of the blockchain-based projects. We do have required assessment tools, and people are still working with it. So we can use them and develop some such projects. Privacy and identity management is the core of blockchain technology, and so wherever it's required, we can implement this technology. So hence it is a very potential research topic and you will can. Thank you. Any queries?
If any participant want to ask anything, madam is there, you can ask. Unmute yourself and ask the question. Otherwise, you can write your question in chat section also.
If anybody have any query, you can unmute your mic and ask the question. Okay. So thank you very much, Shweta Gupta ma'am, for such a nice and informative session on blockchain technology and smart contract. You covered each and every aspect related to blockchain technology with very good example and hands-on session. Once again, I, Dr. Kalpana Rai, convener and HOD CSC SIRTS, the SAGE group, on behalf of our SAGE group, want to extend my gratitude towards all the today's participants and our today's speaker, Mrs. Shweta Gupta ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a nice session.
Shweta madam, are you there?
Okay.
Hello. Shweta madam, just stop the sharing of screen. That will come to upside of your options. See, you have 4 options in upper side of that window. Just close it.
And participant,
Okay.
we already shared the attendance and a feedback link in the chat box. So kindly fill this.
Madam,
Or also, yeah,
see
yeah,
left,
Vigya sir.
see left,
Okay,
see
okay,
left. Okay, so we'll end.
okay, okay. We'll end the session. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Indu ma'am. Thank you, Vigyan sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
And tomorrow we'll meet at 10:50 a.m.
Thank you, Vigyan sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.